All right, everyone, welcome back. We're ready for another deep dive. And today we're taking a look at AI
It is
advancements.
not good.
And let me tell you, things are moving so fast.
It really is incredible.
We've got articles piling up, news from all the AI sites, Twitter's blowing up, Reddit's got its own threads, and even Discord's buzzing with all the latest developments.
It's a lot to keep up with.
It really is. So we thought we'd sift through it all, highlight what's got everyone excited, what's raising some eyebrows, and what you should be paying attention to.
Ready to dive in?
Absolutely. Let's kick things off with something that's been making waves in the research world. This test time scaling paper, the title alone sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's really an elegant concept.
Yeah.
This paper is by Nicholas Moneyhoff. He's worked on some pretty impressive projects like Bloom and StarCoder. And basically, this paper is focused on improving AI reasoning and making it more efficient. You could think of it as giving AI a brain boost without the massive energy drink.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what makes this approach so special?
Well, there are two key innovations. The first is something called data efficient fine tuning. Imagine you're training an AI to grasp this complex reasoning, but instead of, feeding it mountains of data, you only need a small set of examples, just 1,000 questions.
Wow, really?
Yeah, and that translates to a surprisingly short training time, even on some of the most powerful hardware.
That's pretty amazing. It's like teaching someone a brand new skill with just like a handful of examples.
Mm.
So what's the second innovation?
The second one is called controllable computation, which basically gives users the ability to control how long an AI model thinks before it gives you an answer. It's like having this dial to adjust the level of contemplation.
That's so cool.
And you can actually do this by just adding the word wait during the generation process. You can extend or shorten the reasoning process, giving you more flexibility and control over the output.
So it's like you can hit pause on the AI's thinking, giving it more time to really mull over the problem. I can see how that'd be super helpful for tasks where you need a more detailed response,
Yeah.
something really nuanced. But how does this translate to the real world? Why should someone who's not, an AI researcher care about this test time scaling thing?
It's all about creating AI systems that can not only just solve problems, but also explain how they got there, their reasoning process. Imagine having an AI assistant that answers your questions and then shows its work step by step so you can understand how it arrived at that conclusion.
Oh, that's interesting. It's like having an AI tutor walking you through the logic.
Yeah.
That could be a game changer for fields where transparency and understanding are absolutely crucial, like in medicine or finance.
Exactly. And on top of that, this model performs similarly to bespoke Stratos in terms of efficiency, and it replicates the famous O1 scaling chart. Those are huge wins in the AI world.
Yeah.
It shows that we're making serious progress in developing these more efficient and controllable reasoning models.
Okay, all of that is seriously exciting news for the future of AI. But I'm curious about what's happening outside the research labs.
Mm-hmm.
What are people saying about all these advancements? What's trending? What's causing a stir? What's got everyone excited or maybe even a little worried?
Well, let's put on our digital detective hats and dive into the world of AI news and all the social media chatter.
Perfect. Let's start with Twitter. What's the Twitterverse buzzing about?
There's definitely a sense of anticipation building up around these upcoming open source releases from DeepSeek. These models are called R1 and R3, and people are really eager to see how they stack up against the big players like OpenAI. Could this be the start of a power shift in the AI landscape?
Ooh, a power shift. That's definitely something worth watching.
Yeah.
What else is catching people's attention?
There's also a lot of talk about Hugging Face's Small M2, which focuses on data-centric training for small language models.
Hmm.
It seems like there's this growing understanding that the quality and the structure of the data used to train these AI models are just as important as, simply scaling up the model's size.
So it's not just about building bigger models, it's about building smarter ones.
Exactly. And speaking of performance, IBM's released their Granite Vision 3.12b, which is a vision language model, and it's getting a lot of attention with its impressive capabilities. They've even made a testable notebook available so anyone can explore its potential.
A testable notebook. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
What about Reddit? What's grabbing the headlines over there?
Hibiki's speech-to-speech translation is getting a ton of praise, especially for its natural-sounding French-to-English translation. It's a big deal, achieving that human-like fluency in AI-powered translation.
Yeah, I've heard of Hibiki. I think there was even talk about it doing offline translations on iPhones, right?
You're right. Hibiki's making waves on multiple fronts. But on a less positive note, Gemini 2.0 Pro Experimental is getting some criticism for what seems to be some regressions in
Like some
quality.
that's no good.
Yeah, users are reporting more errors and inefficiencies compared to previous versions or other models like Flash 2.0 and the O1 models.
Oof. I'm sure the developers are working hard to fix that. What about Open Web UI? They always seem to be up to something interesting.
Oh, you bet. They just released a real-time code interpreter using Pyodide, which is a big step for developers. And there's this research paper making the rounds that suggests that over-tokenization might actually improve the performance of large language models.
Hold on. Over-tokenization. Isn't that supposed to be a bad thing?
That's what we've always thought. But this research suggests that expanding the input vocabulary a lot, like even by a factor of 100 or more, could actually lead to better performance. Of course, there are downsides to think about, like undertrained tokens and, increased memory usage, but it's a fascinating area for research and it could really shake things up.
So Twitter's all about open source releases. Reddit loves the real-time translation, but not so much the Gemini regressions, and over-tokenization is the hot new thing. That's quite a roundup. What about Discord? What are the hardcore AI folks talking about in those digital dens?
Discord, the heart of the AI community. Let's tune into some of those conversations.
I'm all ears. What's gotten fired up?
Unsloth AI is making some serious noise with their recent GRPO updates. These updates can drastically reduce the amount of VRAM needed for AI processing by a crazy 80%, which is huge for people working with limited resources. And they even made it possible to fine-tune distilled models using popular architectures like Llama and Qwen.
80%, wow. That's a massive reduction in VRAM needs. It could open up AI development to so many more people. What else is catching their attention?
Speaking of optimizing resources, quantization techniques are a super hot topic right now. People are really excited about bits and bytes quantization, which can reduce VRAM needs by up to 60%.
So it seems like there's this big push to make AI more accessible, less resource intensive, and easier to work with even on less powerful hardware.
You got it. It's a really positive trend. But it's not all sunshine and roses. There's also a fair amount of frustration brewing around fine-tuning and configuration issues. Multiple groups are struggling with things like file configurations, API errors, and context limitations across different platforms like LM Studio, Notebook LM, and Cursor ID.
The inevitable technical glitches, always a pain.
Definitely. But on the plus side, there are a ton of cool tool enhancements and open source contributions happening too. GitHub Copilot now has agent mode and Copilot edits, and platforms like Windsurf and Cursor ID have rolled out new features to make code assistance and prompt-based web searches even better.
So even with those bumps in the road, people are still building amazing tools and pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.
That's the spirit of the AI community, always innovating, experimenting, and sharing knowledge. But there is a growing concern about provider reliability. Users of platforms like Deep Infra and LM Studio are reporting high error rates and API issues, which is leading to calls for better documentation and, improved state handling.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
When you're relying on these platforms for your work, reliability is key.
Absolutely. And it's not just the technical stuff either. There are also discussions about the bigger picture. The implications of AI in areas like health diagnostics, where the potential benefits are huge, but so are the concerns about data security and responsible development.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Open source releases, performance critiques, technical glitches, new tools, and even concerns about data security. It's clear that the AI landscape is incredibly dynamic and complex, but I have a feeling you're going to help us make sense of it all, right?
You bet. Stay tuned because we're about to zoom in and analyze what these trends really mean for the future of AI. Okay, so let's take a step back for a second.
Yeah.
Away from this fire hose of AI news and try to connect the dots.
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost in the hype of all these new releases. But it's important to pause and think, what does it all actually mean?
Exactly. So where do we even begin with all this information?
That's the question, isn't it? It's a lot to process.
Well, one of the biggest things we're seeing is this tension, between the rise of open source AI and the dominance of those big players, like OpenAI.
Right.
Remember those DeepSeek models, R1 and R3 that everyone's talking about? They've got a lot of people wondering if the power dynamics in the AI world are about to shift.
It's a really interesting development. Even OpenAI CEO Sam Altman has admitted that the competition is catching up.
Yeah.
So what could this power shift mean for the future of AI? What would that even look like?
Well, it's tough to say for sure, but things are definitely changing. Will we see this more decentralized AI ecosystem, with more players and more diverse approaches? Or will the big companies find ways to stay on top? Maybe by, embracing some of those open source strategies themselves.
It's like we're watching this high-stakes game of chess unfold, and every move has the potential to completely change the board.
Right.
But it's not just about who's building the most powerful AI, right?
Right.
We're also seeing this big emphasis on making AI more accessible to more people. All this talk about reducing VRAM requirements and finding more efficient training methods, it feels like there's this real push to democratize AI.
Definitely. And that focus on accessibility goes hand in hand with another key theme, the importance of training data.
Yeah.
Remember all the buzz around Hugging Face's Slalom 2? It really highlights that the quality and the structure of the data used to train AI models is just as critical as, the size and complexity of the models themselves.
It's like a reminder that AI isn't just about raw power. It's also about how we use that power and what we feed into these systems. So we've got this fascinating most things happening. Open source is on the rise. We're striving for greater accessibility, and there's this renewed focus on high-quality training data. What does all this mean for someone who's not, an AI expert, someone who just wants to understand how these developments might actually impact their life?
It means we're entering a brand new era of AI. It's one that's potentially more dynamic, more inclusive, and more impactful than anything we've seen before. As AI becomes more accessible and easier to use, we can expect to see the surge in innovation across all sorts of fields.
I'm imagining a world where AI tools aren't just locked away in labs and big tech companies, but are available to everyone. Entrepreneurs, artists, educators, anyone with a creative vision and the desire to explore what's possible.
Exactly. That's the kind of future that many in the AI community are working towards. But as AI becomes more widespread, we have this responsibility to make sure it's developed and used ethically and responsibly. We can't forget about things like potential biases in the training data, the risks of misuse, and the importance of transparency and accountability.
Right. It's like we're being reminded that while AI has this incredible potential, it also comes with some serious challenges that need careful thought and solutions. It's a balancing act. We need to encourage innovation while minimizing risks. We need to make it accessible while upholding ethical standards. It's a tall order.
It is, but it's a challenge that we as a society need to face head-on. The future of AI isn't set in stone. We're shaping it right now with our choices and actions.
So how can we as individuals and as a collective make sure we're steering AI in the right direction in a way that benefits all of humanity?
Well, one of the most important things we can do is stay informed and engaged and critical. Don't just passively absorb information about AI. Question things, dig deeper into the research, think about the potential consequences, and participate in the conversations happening around the ethical and societal implications.
It's about being active participants in shaping this technology, not just sitting back and watching it happen. But where do we even start with these conversations? It can all feel pretty overwhelming.
True, the world of AI can seem intimidating, especially with everything moving so fast. But remember, even the most complex technologies are built on these basic principles and concepts. Start there. Familiarize yourself with the building blocks. There are tons of resources online, from introductory courses to articles and videos that explain AI in simple terms.
You're right. We don't have to become AI experts overnight to understand the fundamentals and join the conversation.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of simple curiosity. Ask questions, explore different points of view, challenge assumptions. The more you engage with AI, the more comfortable you'll become with its complexity, and the more you'll be able to contribute to the discussion about its role in our lives.
So we've talked about the trends shaping AI, the rise of open source, the focus on accessibility, the importance of good training data, and we've touched on the need for ethical considerations and responsible development as AI becomes more intertwined with our lives. But what's next? What are those big unanswered questions that are still out there just waiting to be explored?
Well, there are a lot of those, but the one that really grabs me is this. Given the speed of open source development and the possibility of a more decentralized AI ecosystem, what might the future of collaboration and innovation in AI look like?
Wow, that's a great question. It's almost like asking what happens when you let the genie out of the bottle.
Exactly. And what does it mean for accessibility, for the power dynamics in tech, and for the very way we approach scientific discovery and technological advancement in the age of AI?
Those are some serious, mind-blowing questions.
Mm-hmm.
I think we might need a bigger whiteboard for that, but I'm betting you have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, my brain's definitely doing some heavy lifting after that one.
Well, that's a good sign, right? It means we're getting you thinking.
You definitely got the wheels turning. So let's unpack this whole thing about open source AI, changing how we collaborate and innovate in AI. What kind of future are we looking at?
Well, one of the first things we might see is this huge boost in accessibility. As these powerful AI models become more readily available through open source projects, the barriers to entry for researchers, developers, even just curious hobbyists, they all come down significantly.
That's so cool. It's like opening up the world of AI to anyone with an internet connection and a little bit of curiosity. Exactly. It's a major shift.
Yeah.
Instead of needing some top secret lab and a team of geniuses, you just need a decent computer and a willingness to learn. And that kind of accessibility could really spark a wave of innovation as more people from all different backgrounds and with all sorts of perspectives can get their hands dirty, experiment with AI and contribute to its development.
I can already picture it, high school students building AI-powered apps in their bedrooms, just like they're creating websites and writing code today.
It's not that far off,
Right.
and this increased access could also lead to a more collaborative approach to AI development. With open source platforms, people can freely look at, modify, and build upon each other's work, which could really speed up progress and lead to better and more creative solutions.
So it's not just about individual genius anymore. It's about the power of collective intelligence, right?
Mhm.
Like the wisdom of the crowd, but focused on pushing the boundaries of AI.
Precisely. And this shift towards open collaboration could have a big impact on the balance of power in the tech world. We've gotten used to this landscape dominated by a few huge corporations, but open source AI has the potential to shake that up. It could empower smaller companies, startups, independent researchers to make real contributions.
It's like leveling the playing field, giving everyone a shot at participating in this technological revolution. I love that idea. But with more access and collaboration come new challenges too, right? We can't
Well,
just ignore those.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
We have to be very aware of the ethical implications of making powerful AI tools widely available, making sure things are developed responsibly, addressing biases in the training data and protecting against misuse. All of that becomes super important.
It's a classic case of with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
We need to be smart and proactive about setting guidelines and safeguards so that AI is used for good and doesn't cause harm.
Absolutely. But even with those challenges, the potential benefits of open source AI are so huge that it's a path we need to explore. Imagine a future where AI isn't just a tool for making money, but a force for positive change, used to tackle some of humanity's biggest problems in healthcare education, environmental sustainability, you name it.
I'm feeling inspired. It sounds like we're at the beginning of something truly transformative in AI development, something driven by collaboration, accessibility, and this shared commitment to using this technology to make the world a better place.
It really is an exciting time to be following AI, and as we continue to explore what's possible, let's remember to keep asking the hard questions, to stay involved in the conversations, and to work together to shape the future of AI in a way that benefits all of us.
That's a great way to put it. And on that note, a huge thank you to our expert guide for taking us on this incredible journey through the world of AI advancements.
It was my pleasure. Always enjoy sharing these insights with such an engaged audience.
And to all our listeners, thanks for tuning into this deep dive. We hope it sparked your curiosity and given you some things to think about. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and stay tuned for more deep dives into the constantly changing world of technology. Until next time.